Cameos Ramen coming at ya. Back in the day, Sony was dominating the home console market, with the PlayStation 1 and 2 being massive hits. Sony, seeing the success Nintendo had in the handheld market, they decided they wanted a piece of the pie. Thus, the PSP was born. The PSP was a multimedia handheld capable of console-like quality gaming on the go, with the added addition of playing movies and downloading games from a dedicated online shop. The PSP was hard to compete with. What made PSP truly stand out was its own disc format, known as UMDs. Little discs that are encased in glass, and no, you cannot play them on the GameCube. I tried. UMDs were a step up from cartridges, as they were able to hold more space, and more space meant more games. And what an amazing library of PSP games we were given. I thought it'd be fun to look at some overlooked PSP games that you yourself might have forgotten about, and see what they're truly all about. Let's begin. Ratchet and Clank are a duo that work well together. What Secret Agent Clank does is separate Clank from Ratchet and gives Clank the lead role, while Ratchet is sidelined and confined to a prison. Secret Agent Clank spoofs old spy movies and tropes, from the gadgets to the locations, even down to the evil clone whose motivations seem very convoluted. We'll get to that. Secret Agent Clank plays fairly similar to most Ratchet and Clank games. The only difference is that you are forced to play as Clank, Ratchet, and Quirk, and each of their gameplays are very different and can be a real pain sometimes. Since Ratchet is in a prison, most of his levels are essentially arenas where you fight waves of enemies. You do earn weapons and upgrades as you progress, but if you're a person who gets easily frustrated, you're gonna wanna spam your strongest weapon because the enemies in this are so annoying. The game tries to change up the enemy types every arena, but Ratchet's gameplay is just not fun. Levels are confined to one arena, there's no exploring, no adventure, just mindless shooting for the sake of it. Quirk's gameplay centers around him telling a story to his autobiographer about his adventures through space. What Quirk had over Ratchet's gameplay-wise is each level is different and unique. One level has you battle as a giant, another level has you playing as a cowboy. Quirk's levels were all fun and entertaining to play through. There's also a part where Quirk does an entire level in song, and he's a pretty damn good singer. Some of Quirk's levels are frustrating, much like Ratchet's levels, but unlike Ratchet, Quirk's levels don't make me want to rage quit out of frustration. Clank, who is the main lead, his levels are pretty much like a traditional Ratchet and Clank game, but without Ratchet. Clank can melee attack enemies as well as sneak attack them, but much like a spy, the challenge comes with having to sneak around enemies. A task I failed a lot of times in this game. I really don't enjoy stealth in some games. Lucky if you are caught, you can just fight off the enemies and proceed. Clank does have a good set of weapons that are spy themed. My favorite has to be the Tire Ring and the Thunderstorm Umbrella. Quirk, Clank, and Ratchet get their own set of weapons, and they're all upgradable and different. The more you kill, the powerful the weapon becomes. Something that I gotta commend this game for doing are the weapon choices. They fit the three main characters very well. What doesn't fit well are the insane minigames. Some minigames have you ballroom dance or win a casino game or pilot a vehicle, but the worst minigame is the rhythm minigame. This game was responsible for many broken controllers as a kid. If you miss 2 buttons, Clank will get hurt by the laser or you'll get killed by a guard. I had to play this level 5 times. After the 5th attempt, I did master the patterns and beat it, and I was so happy it was over. I get the idea of showing Clank going through lasers and turning it into a minigame, but did it have to be through a rhythm-based system? The plot for Secret Agent Clank is also not the best. It feels pointless in some areas and good in others. The plot centers around Clank trying to clear Ratchet's name after being wrongfully accused of stealing a gem. Turns out, Ratchet was being mind controlled by Clank, an evil Clank introduced in Up Your Arsenal. His plan is to use a gem to wipe out the galaxy. I like the idea of using a former villain for this game. There are areas that could have been cut from this plot. It's Quirk, who I feel could have been written out, and the story will remain the same. He only shows up at the end to save the day, and almost gets killed by his autobiographer, who turns out to be working for Clank. Which, if anyone shows interest to Quirk that much, they're they're probably after something, or they're evil. They're probably evil. The story ties Quirk towards the end, but it feels like they just needed to make sure Quirk is somehow in the plot. Why did they decide to make Quirk save the world half naked? I don't know. Secret Agent Clank is a game with an overall interesting idea, but the execution feels lazy in some areas. The game has its moments of enjoyment, particularly with Clank and Quirk being the highlight of the game. But personally, I feel Ratchet & Clank apart doesn't feel right. The story and overall vibe is better when these two are together. And while I do think shining the spotlight on Clank and making him a lead is fine, much like Jak and Daxter, these two characters are better written when they're occupying the same space. The spy spoof in this game, I will give props to, as I was intrigued to find out who the villain was. The little nods to spy movies are a neat addition. I would recommend this game if you like Ratchet & Clank. Just don't expect it to be easy. Before I move on, this game also has a PS2 port, which is the same game just upscaled a bit. Personally, I prefer the PSP one as the PS2 port has a very clunky camera at times, but overall, this game is not bad if you're a die-hard Ratchet & Clank fan and want to play a game that's a little more different than the other games. The PSP has a huge catalog of racing games, and while those games are unique in their own way, Mod Nation Racers is a step above them all. Mod Nation Racer feels like your standard racing game, with power-up tracks and unique cars. But what makes Mod Nation Racers stand out is the art style, which is based off vinyl collector toys, which fits with the theme of this game, which is customization. You can customize your racers, look, outfit, and accessories. You can also customize your karts any way you like. The game has a huge number of modifications to mess around with. The game has a good number of tracks that were enjoyable to play through. The controls are something to get used to, but the game does feel like Mario Kart, so I give it that. Mod Nation Racers, like its PS3 counterpart, has a lot of modes that offer some replayability. There's a story mode which after playing like an hour kinda got boring. I'm never really a fan when racing games add a story mode cause they're usually all the same. The story for this has you play as a character called Tag. A Tag, you get it? Like graffiti, Tag. As Tag, you enter a racing competition where you race, customize your kart, rinse and repeat. The story is decent, don't get me wrong, but it feels somewhat like an afterthought. It does have some heart, I mean, you know, it's there somewhere, but it wasn't good enough for me to finish, if I'm being brutally honest. Other modes in this game are track customization where you can make your own tracks and share it online, but since the PSP Online shut down long ago, there really is no point besides making them tracks and playing them yourself. The game also emphasizes user-generated content, which means when Mod Nation Racers was up and running, you were able to play other people's crazy track, sorta like Little Big Planet in a way. Mod Nation Racers' focus was customization through play, which is a neat concept at the time. Playing it again feels like the community aspect, the big highlight for this game, really is what makes this game. Mod Nation Racer is a great game in both visual and mechanics, but without an online infrastructure, it's very bare bones in what you can do. I don't got much to say about this game, so let's move on to the next game. As a kid, I was a really big fan of Dragon Ball games, but most of the games I played were from the PS2 and Wii era. I rarely played the handheld games. Aside from Dragon Ball Origins, that game is the only exception. When I got a PSP as a kid, I never had an interest in playing the PSP Dragon Ball games. After playing Dragon Ball Tenkaichi Tag Team, I was so wrong. Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team plays just like the Budokai Tenkaichi games, but with the added ability to take the epic fight on the go. The game has 70 characters to play as from the Dragon Ball universe. The gameplay gimmick for Tag Team is 2-on-2 tag team battles that allow for more fun, intensive fights. When I was playing this game for this video, I was really blown away with how much this really felt like a Budokai Tenkaichi game. From the combos, to the way you have to do a certain set of button presses, to even the way the game looks. even the supers, even character transformations in here. We even have Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I missed you, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and all your pixelated glory. Any of you remember when this was considered a powerful transformation? Before like Ultra Instinct and Super Saiyan Blue Goku? Super Saiyan 3 was top tier. Tenkaichi Tag Team, like the Budokai Tenkaichi series, has different modes that offer different fun ways to play. This game has Dragon Walker, which allows you to play the Saint Saga up to the Buu Saga, with the ability to fly semi-freely in a map like overworld. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is my least favorite type of hub world. Characters with big heads while dialogue bubbles are above them feels really lazy. There's no in-game cutscenes, and Dragon Walker is enjoyable for like an hour. Then I got really tired. They do throw in some fun little things here or there, but this overworld is just not enjoyable to look at. They do change the layout every time you enter a new saga, but it still fundamentally feels the same. There's also survival mode, which has you battle a bunch of characters, and battle 100, which is like the normal story mode, but the difficulty gets harder and harder. There's also fun what ifs in this mode that kept me pretty entertained for quite a bit. I did enjoy testing myself in different battles. Tenkaichi Tag Team is 1-to-1, a Budokai Tenkaichi game down to every last battle and mechanic. There's even those fun loading screens. I miss these. Sparking Zero should have had these. I do say, if you want a handheld Budokai Tenkaichi game, this will scratch that Dragon Ball itch. Let's move on to a game about gun, violence, and stealing cars. I don't think I order these games the right way. Grand Theft Auto was one of those games that felt like a badge of honor to own. The freedom the game gave players was something that felt rare to find in a lot of games back then. But Rockstar decided, hey, why don't we make a GTA game on the PSP, eh? Okay, they didn't have a terrible mafioso accent, but you get the point. Well, that's where GTA Liberty City comes in. GTA Liberty City is a prequel to the events of GTA 3, set in 1998. You play as Tony Cipriani, a mobster who's trying to rise through the ranks of the Leone crime family by any means necessary. Throughout the game, you get to advance the story, you complete various missions like most GTA games. Some range from driving to a specific location, assassinating targets, stealing vehicles, delivering packages, participating in shootouts. With each mission or task you complete, you earn respect and reputation with the Leone family. What really makes this game such a masterclass in gaming is Liberty City is booming with life throughout it. Yes, while Liberty City does use the same map as GTA 3, since this game is in 1998, some iconic landmarks like bridges and diners are completely different. Some iconic locations even look under construction, making the connection to GTA 3 even better. There's also a large amount of cars and weapons, although I'm gonna be honest, driving in this game is a pain. Each car feels like I'm skating on ice. I sometimes find myself upside down if I go way too fast. It's more frustrating when some jobs require you to drive to one spot, but I did manage to figure out a way to drive, so I say it's manageable. As for the weapons, there's a pretty good amount. Some range from melee to guns, but my choice of weapon is flamethrower. How can I be a mobster without a flamethrower? Liberty City is a great GTA game, but while playing, some things did annoy me. Like, I can only save in my house, I can't save anywhere else. I didn't enjoy when I wanted to put the game down, I had to go directly to my house or abandon a mission just to save before I close. I made the mistake of not saving the first time and kinda screwed myself, and then I had to start over again. It's a minor annoyance that I get back then. Saving a game in a weird creative way was kind of like a thing, but no, I think at this point, just pausing the game and saving it would have been a lot better. While I do like Liberty City from what I played, a creator by the name of Zach Quinn, who's a GTA pro, could provide better insight than I can, so I'll pass the mic to him.
Hello, it's Zach, and I'm here to talk about good old Grand Theft Auto Liberty City stories. Now, if you don't know me, I am a huge fan of the GTA games. They are, in my opinion, some of the greatest games ever made. But games like GTA Vice City Stories and Liberty City Stories are sort of seen as the black sheep of the series. But today, I will mainly be discussing Liberty City Stories. This game's a prequel to the groundbreaking GTA 3, taking place 3 years before the events of that game. We play as Tony Cipriani, a member of the Italian mob wanting to work his way back up the criminal ladder after being away from the city for a while. As per the title, the game takes place in Liberty City, where we get to explore the 3 main islands: Portland, Staunton Island, and Shoreside Vale. Despite the limitations of the PSP, they were able to make the city feel huge and really lived in. The story is also really interesting with lots of fun and unique characters. You got Salvatore Leone, Donald Love, Miles O'Donovan, Joseph Daniel O'Toole, just to name a few. The game, however, does have its limitations and is a downgrade when you compare to San Andreas, which released a year prior. But aside some small issues, it is still a really fun and impressive game that pushed the PSP to its limits. I highly recommend you guys play the game if you're into old classic PlayStation games, and especially GTA games. Anyway, thanks for having me on. Make sure to go check out my channel where I make some pretty awesome videos. Adios, amigos.
GTA Liberty City is an amazing game with great characters and a great sense of freedom. It has a really fun and engaging story that feels like a movie at times. But I do recommend Liberty City if you're a Rockstar fan and love their open world games. Toy Story is one of those films that I loved growing up. The moral of friendship and loyalty, it's something that touched me about these films. And with each film, there are tie-in games that capture the world of Toy Story by allowing you to feel like one of Andy's toys and explore the many set pieces from each movie in a creative way. In 2010, Toy Story 3 was released. A movie with a great story, amazing animation, and a movie that was responsible for me crying like a baby. And with a third movie meant a third tie-in game. The Toy Story 3 game plays kinda like an Uncharted game with smooth platforming and traversal. Each level you play as an iconic Toy Story character, from Woody to Buzz to toy soldiers. The game has you playing each iconic event from the movie. Some of my favorite levels include the opening level for this game, where you are a cowboy running on a train while being attacked by Ham. This one level in this game is a clear sign this game is going to be a fun ride. Another level that I really enjoyed was this weird nightmarish level where you play as Jesse and you have to sneak past Lutz's minions to free your trapped friends. I didn't think a Metal Gear style stealth level with toys could be creepy. It has to do something with that thunderstorm in the back. This level is very dark, and I'm not talking about the fact that it's dark in the room, but it feels pretty dark. I was impressed with each story level in this game. Usually movie tie-in games tend to cheap out due to the budget, but Toy Story games have remained consistent in quality. Each one's fun and keeps with the themes and logic of the movies. Toy Story 3 feels like a true labor of love, rather than a cheap cash grab. Each version of this game is semi-different, with the console version having the inventive, fun Toy Box mode. I feel like this mode was inspiration for Disney Infinity. I could be wrong, but tell me in the comments if I'm wrong or right. Toy Box mode is a giant toy box where you can play with your toys like Woody and Buzz and traverse this open space that you can pretty much just make your own. The PSP version, while not having as many features as the console ports, they were fun. I did enjoy Woody's Roundup being one of those modes. I always enjoy Woody's Roundup bits from Toy Story 2, so playing this mode kinda made me feel like a kid again. There's also the Buzz Lightyear mode where you play as Buzz trying to stop the evil Zurg. You pretty much play as Buzz but with a powerful laser, which if you use a cheat code, you can use that laser in story mode, which is pretty funny, as it does kind of make things a bit easier. There's no flying cheat code, but I feel like if you had that, probably break the game in some way or another. Toy Story 3 on the PSP does have a lot to offer as a game. If you want to experience Toy Story 3 in a fun way with amazing platforming on par with Uncharted, I know I said that before, but this game feels like Uncharted. I'm sorry. This game is good. While it doesn't have as many features as the console variants, it's still a great experience on the PSP. Mega Man Powered Up is a very unique entry in the Mega Man series. It's a game that's very overlooked. While the chibi art style can throw players off, it kinda has its own charm to it, especially in cutscenes. Mega Man himself, Dr. Wily, as well as the other characters, look good in this chibi style. But what makes this game different from other Mega Man games, it's not just its looks. it's the gameplay. You have a choice of classic style and new style. In classic style, you can play the game like a traditional Mega Man game, allowing you to defeat 8 robot masters of your choosing. And you get to choose the new style, where you can play the game with an added story and the ability to choose a robot master to defeat. You can also play the story as a robot master, which changes the dialogue and story a lot. After I played the game as Mega Man, I went ahead and played the game as Cutman and Bomb Man. It was kind of funny seeing Mega Man evil and destroying him as a robot master. The level, which there are a total of 8, each correspond to a robot master. Every level is fun to play through, although very challenging as it is a Mega Man game. And the robot masters are also very hard bosses to beat. For some reason, Mega Man, as well as the robot masters you play as, can't shoot up. To not be able to shoot in any direction, it really makes this game kinda frustrating. The neat feature of allowing you to play as robot masters is something I would love to see in other Mega Man games. Unless it's in other Mega Man games and I don't know about it, but I love this feature. The boss battles at times are very challenging, but once I understood the patterns, each robot master was easy to defeat. Mega Man Powered Up is a true hidden gem on the PSP that truly captures the feeling of Mega Man. It's a challenging, fun platformer that has a unique art style and visual flair that any Mega Man fan would love. Sonic games on a handheld system are often regarded as great Sonic games due to the fact that the hardware they're on aren't as powerful as home consoles, which makes developers try harder on the game's visuals and gameplay to push the hardware to its limits. Sonic Rivals 1 and 2 on PSP, being the only games of its kind on that system, are one of those examples of great Sonic games on handheld that really push the PSP's hardware. Sonic Rivals visuals look like a home console quality game without feeling cheap. The game's levels do look and feel like Sonic levels. Sonic Rivals 1 and 2 are both racing games where you race against another opponent to reach the finish line. Both Sonic Rivals 1 and 2 have 3 acts and a final boss. In order to progress in the story, you have to win every race. After each race, you get cards. These cards are used for costumes, items, what have you. They change the way you play and look in the game. The story for this game, yes, these games have stories. The first game, Dr. Eggman uses a device to turn people and objects into cards, and Sonic and his team up to stop him. In the second game, Dr. Eggman steals chows and plans to use them to open a portal to an interdimensional beast, and Sonic, Knuckles, and Silver team up to stop him. Yeah, these two plots are kind of all over the place, but the story isn't that deep. What makes Sonic Rivals 1 and 2 different are the amount of characters you play as, and the menu and UI. In Sonic Rivals 1, you have 5 characters: Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, Silver, and Metal Sonic. And in Sonic Rivals 2, you have 8 characters to play as: Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, Silver, Metal Sonic, Tails, and Espio, and Rouge the Bat. If I'm gonna pick my favorite game out of the two, I'm gonna say Sonic Rivals 2 is better overall, as the acts are a lot longer than the first game and the platforming is more refined and less clunky. The first game's acts did feel very short. I mean, I am speeding through them as Sonic, but I do enjoy longer levels that have more to them. But that's just me. I will say Sonic Rivals 1's story is a lot more simplified and the dialogue is a lot funnier. Sonic Rivals 1 and 2 are really enjoyable Sonic games. It reminds me a lot of Sonic Racing in a way, and for that I give credit to Backbone Studio for making a Sonic game on the PSP. It's insane that these are the only Sonic games on that system we ever got, and they're really great games that shouldn't be forgotten. If you're looking for a game for your PSP, Sonic Rivals 1 and 2 are great games that give you a small, speedy burst of Sonic each time you play it. In 2006, Family Guy's 4th season was airing. The show was still delighting us with pop culture cutaways and family misadventures, and episodes that became iconic for the show. Family Guy at this point was popular. It was very well known by just anyone, so it only makes sense to capitalize on the popularity and make a video game titled Family Guy the Video Game. Well, that's a simple title that The Simpsons will take for their game years later. Yep, generic title. Family Guy the Video Game is what you expect. The game has the same feel and look of the show, with some crude and funny humor thrown here or there. The game is split up into 3 storylines that intertwine. The first storyline has you playing as Stewie on a mission to defeat his nemesis Bertram. Stewie's gameplay involves gadgets, lasers, and a whole lot of chaotic fun. Some levels involve you shooting in a hospital or inside Peter's body. Yep, that's a thing in this game. I don't know why. The second storyline involves Brian Griffin, who himself gets framed for a crime he did not commit and must escape from prison to clear his name. This storyline involves stealth and a whole lot of frustrating moments that will make you bite your tongue. The third storyline has you playing as Peter, who believes Mr. Belvedere is trying to take over the world and embarks on a hilarious quest to stop him. This storyline involves plenty of fisticuffs and Peter's signature brand of stupidity. Out of all the 3 gameplay styles in this game, Brian is my least favorite. The stealth sections drag on way too long and some of the levels are just kinda boring. Every time a Brian stealth mission comes up, I did not look forward to them. I think the stealth sections bring the entire game down. Of all the characters to give stealth sections to, Brian is the worst choice. As for Stewie and Peter's gameplay, they're both fun and enjoyable. From time to time, their gameplay, much like Brian's, can be a bit repetitive, but I think out of the 3, Stewie and Peter have the better levels. What really makes this game fun is how power-ups are earned. You earn these power-ups by playing through what this game calls interactive cutaways. Some cutaways are callbacks to the show. One of my all-time favorite best cutaways is Stewie's sexy party. I miss this joke in Family Guy. Bring this joke back. What carries this game is the art style. The style is a mixture of cel shading with the look and feel of Family Guy. The opening level has you platforming in the Griffin house as Stewie. The house looks so much like the cartoon, it's hard to not admire how well it's made. If you're a big Family Guy fan, this game really does engulf you in its world and characters, and matches the humor and tone of the show. So if you're a family kind of guy, I do think it's a fun ride that will make you laugh and cry. That wasn't my favorite line to end this on, but let's just move on. LEGO video games are some of the most creative and imaginative games you can find on a home console or handheld. LEGO are known for taking popular IPs like Star Wars, Batman, and Marvel, and turning them into fun interactive puzzle-solving adventures that have amazing visuals and fun stories for all ages to enjoy. One of those LEGO games that was my favorite on the PSP growing up was LEGO Indiana Jones: The Original Adventure. LEGO Indiana Jones plays just like any other LEGO game. You solve puzzles, platform, and collect characters to play around with in the hub world. Or free play. In this game you play through the first 3 movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Barnett College, Indiana Jones' teaching location from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, serves as the main hub of this game. This hub world provides you access to the 3 main stories, and this hub world is amazing to walk around in. It kind of reminds me a lot of the hub world from LEGO Star Wars, where in that you walk around, create a character, discover something you might have missed, and select a saga to play through. LEGO Indiana Jones is kind of like that. This kind of simplicity, while limited, is why I like these games. Indiana's work as a main hub makes this game feel a little bit more immersed in its world. As much as I enjoy every single level in this game has to offer, my favorite level by far to play through is Raiders. Nothing beats the feeling of running away from a giant rock as Indiana Jones. Or giant Lego rock. My favorite saga to play through was Temple of Doom. This expansive level has variety. The puzzles are fun and challenging, and while the saga takes place in one location, the temple, there's enough to do and creative puzzles in each level where I never got bored. I think like most LEGO games, the humor and charm carries. Each cutscene is filled with nods and jokes from the movies, but with a twist that only LEGO can do. The developers really try to make this game play the same on all platforms, so it doesn't really matter which Indiana Jones game you get for which system, you're gonna have a pretty good experience. Although you're gonna notice on the PSP version, which I had to play through, the texturing looks a bit fuzzy on the minifigs and cutscenes. Same goes for the DS version, but in-game, it looks completely fine. What really impressed me about this game is that they took into account all the booby traps Indiana encounters. From spike traps to falling bridges to snakes. Because it's LEGO, these traps are elaborate and creative, which fits into the theme of LEGO. Combat for this game is like its sister counterpart LEGO Star Wars, but instead of Han Solo with a gun, you're Han Solo with a whip and a hat. Combat is not complicated, although it is repetitive if you are trying to complete this game in one sitting, If this game taught me anything, you can solve all your problems by just giving the bad guy a good whipping.
Huh?
Bad guy has a treasure? Whip him. Spider has your baby? Whip him. Best friend stole your girlfriend? Whip him. Baby has your spider? Whip him. Don't do that at all, or you'll end up like Han Solo. Dead. Lego Indiana Jones on PSP has over 60 characters to play and mess around with in free play and in the open hub world. Each character is equipped with a special ability or weapon. There's so many characters to play as in this game, it's hard to really choose at times. The game includes every single character from each movie. It's like Smash Bros, but with Legos. Everyone is pretty much here. For fans of Indiana Jones and Lego, this game does a good job letting you play through those iconic set pieces that are fun and enjoyable. This game is both creative, challenging, and feels like an adventure every time you play. What more can you want? Imagination and creativity. That's the foundation Little Big Planet is built upon. Little Big Planet, just like its PS3 counterpart, pretty much the same with a few features removed, due to the PSP's limitation. In Little Big Planet, you take control of Sackboy, as you're running platform through crazy, imaginative levels that at times can feel like a fever dream. In these story mode levels, you earn things to customize your Sackboy. Things like skins, hat, clothing, glasses, all the things you collected can be used to create a Sackboy that's unique to you. You can also customize your hub pod, which is kind of like your home base in Little Big Planet. You can slap stickers and paint and go crazy. The customization is a tad limited where it matters, and that's in the level design. While not extensive as the PS3 version, the game does give you the tools to mess around with, but designing levels is rather pointless in this game. That's because Little Big Planet servers shut down, so you can't share or make levels. To me and many others, what made Little Big Planet fun and replayable was its community aspect. Making fun and zany levels where you show off your creativity, that's what Little Big Planet is all about. The story mode for this game is very short in length compared to the PS3 version. The PSP story mode is also vastly different from the PS3 one as well. It's a fine story mode with pretty great levels, but it's really all this game has to offer if I'm being honest. Without community support, this game is very bare bones. But that's not to take anything away from this game. Little Big Planet on PSP is a very enjoyable game, with a charming and whimsical aesthetic that the series is known for. The customization and zany levels are fun and challenging. The feeling of rushing and jumping through fun levels as Sackboy is what the PSP is really all about. Little Big Planet on PSP is one part imagination and one part wonder, and that's honestly pretty impressive for a handheld system. What more can I say? This game is truly amazing, even with its limitations. The PSP was more than just a console. It was a gateway to a lot of games that were the cornerstone of our childhood. Each game provided hours of fun and comfort. As some of us have gotten older, it's hard to appreciate the little things we had when we were kids. The games we played and the memories we made will always stick with us. I was playing some of these games and I was reminded of those times I played my PSP, download music, watch videos, play movies. The console was truly a work of art, and its library of games from racing to fighting to platforming should not be forgotten. My name is Ramen, peace out.